I fucked up today, I fucked up before. I fucked up so much I can't keep track anymore. I fucked up on girls, I fucked up this song. I fucked up on my sister, my dad and my mom. I fucked up on everyone, I fucked up on me. I fucked up with money and man, nothing is free. I fucked up on Letterman, I fucked up on stage. I fucked up on time and I fucked up too late. But now, I'm ready to win. I stand on a river, I stand on a stage, hoping for glory, or maybe today, 'cause it's all a mistake and a beautiful mess, like your next door neighbor when you saw him undress. And I'll do it forever, do nothing but fail, a student of error who can only prevail. 'Cause learning is trying and trying is hard, when it feels like falling's gonna tear you apart. But now, I'm ready to win. Yeah, now, I'm ready. So turn on the house lights, turn to your left, shake hands with someone that you'll probably forget, and tell them they're great, tell them they're splendid, no matter how all of their fuck-ups have ended. Tell them they're free from whatever happened, from all of the haters who need someone to slap them. Just go and fuck up, fucking up, nothing but fucking up, never fuck enough. And then you'll be strong, and then you'll be fearless, 'cause you've done it all and your tear ducts are tearless. And then you'll remember there's a fire in your heart and a dream in your head and permission to start. And from out of the silence you will hear your voice like a big fucking siren, and you won't have a choice. And you will stand up, throw caution to the wind, and you will scream out that you are ready to win. Are you ready? Ready to win.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fuck Up Nights Toronto Virtual. We're super excited to be back with you tonight. My name is Marcia Drucker, and I'm the founder of Fuckup Nights Toronto. So a little bit about Fuckup Nights for anybody who's maybe tuning in for the first time and maybe hasn't been to one of our in-person events. Fuckup Nights is a global community, global speaker series that was started in Mexico City by a group of entrepreneurs who one day were sitting around the table drinking some mezcal, as they do in Mexico, and they got to talking about their biggest failures. And never before had they shared these stories, never before had they opened up in that kind of way, even with their closest friends. So they decided to do this with a bigger group of friends, bring people out together at a bar. And that's kind of how Fuckup Nights was born. People before this was born were a little bit afraid to share failure. I think all of us feel a little bit uncomfortable with it. We want to see the highlight reel. Everybody's Instagram looks perfect. But Fuckup Nights really exists to change the conversation around failure and to really show us that it's part of being human. It's part of being an entrepreneur. It touches every industry. It touches every person. So it's really important that we share these stories and we learn from them. So I'd love to hear where everybody is tuning in from. Our community is in Toronto. We've been here since 2017, and we've been hosting events every single month in person at Shopify. So I know a lot of people who are tuning in right now have been to our in-person events. But since this is virtual, this is opened up to the world. Some of you have maybe made a big move outside of Toronto or into the suburbs or into the countryside. So let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Would love to see that. Also, if you have any pets watching with you, we would love to see pictures. Please post your furry friends in the photos in the comments as well. We would love to see them. So here's what we have happening tonight. We have an amazing e-commerce entrepreneur with us. I'll share a little bit about him and then I'll bring him into the stream with me. So we have Aaron Spivak here with us today, and he's a Canadian serial entrepreneur who co-founded Revitasize, which is an organic cold pressed juice kitchen at 18 years old. That company was super successful, expanded to 8+ locations across Toronto, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about his new company, Hush Blankets, which is a sleep improvement company selling Canada's most popular and reviewed weighted blanket, which is designed to help those with sleep, anxiety, insomnia, ADHD, and more sleep better and feel better. So super excited to have Aaron with us tonight. We're going to dive into some of the fuck-ups that he's had in building this company to 8 figures. Super impressive company, super impressive entrepreneur, but we are here to talk about the failures that he's encountered. So before I introduce Aaron, just a couple of ground rules that I want to share with everybody who's tuning in. So it's really important when you're listening to a fuck-up story to really appreciate the courage that it takes for an entrepreneur or a professional to come on here and to share their story so openly, to take the filter off and really share the struggles in their business and the really dark times. So please appreciate the courage that it takes to come up here and to share this type of story. Please try to avoid judgment. Aaron is going to share some pretty big fuck-ups, pretty epic fuck-ups that have happened in the business. So make sure that you reserve any judgment. And you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions. So please add any questions you have throughout into the comments. We'll pull them up at the end, and Aaron will be able to get to them. And something that's really amazing about that is that you're really going to be able to deepen your own learning from Aaron's fuck up, but you're also going to help him deepen his own learning and really look at his fuck up in a different light and see how else he can think of it and what other lessons he can extract from it. So definitely a win-win all around. Also, we did a survey with our community. We think it's super important to listen to our community and really understand what kind of things everybody is looking for, what value we can bring with these virtual events. Because of course, we believe that the magic of Fuckup Nights is our in-person events, but since we can't gather in person, we want to create a really valuable experience for you online and really bring you the type of content that you're interested in, opportunities to engage. And a lot of you noted that you would be interested in virtual networking opportunities. So at the end of this, after we take community Q&A and go through the story that we're chatting about tonight, we're going to open up Icebreaker. We'll post the link in the comments, and that's really going to be an opportunity for you to connect with other community members that were listening to the stream tonight, that we're watching. And it's just a cool opportunity for you to meet new people in the community, to talk about what you're up to, how you can help each other, and again, really deepen your learning about this fuck up that we're going to hear tonight. So we'll post that comment, we'll post that link, in the comments towards the end, and we really hope that some of you will join and keep the conversation going. So without further ado, I'm really excited to bring up Aaron onto the stream. Welcome.
Wow. Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I think everybody's really excited for this, to dive into these fuck-ups. So something that we do with fuck-up nights, I read a little bit about your bio, only a tiny piece of it. We're going to post a little bit about you in the comments as well so people can read. But something that we love to do with our events is to share a few fun facts about our speakers, things that the regular person wouldn't know about you, maybe wouldn't find if they didn't really dig. So what's something that's unique about you?
Yeah, something that I guess is a little bit different is I played hockey pretty competitively for about 20 years of my life, and played my last years at York University. So I was essentially a hockey player before anything else. It's not really, when people usually talk to me or meet me, outside of the hair, you wouldn't know, right? Or maybe the fake teeth, but outside of that, you wouldn't know.
I would have never known. That's super cool. And I'm sure that some of those lessons have kind of, from playing professional sports, have probably kind of translated into how you go about running your companies and, just the way that you view entrepreneurship and failure. So maybe we can cover that a little bit as well if people are curious about it and have questions about it. But I'm really excited to dive into your story. So I think a lot of people that are watching this are really fascinated by entrepreneurship. Some of them are, working on side hustles. Some are starting their own businesses. Some are already e-commerce or different types of entrepreneurs. But I think it's really fascinating to hear about how entrepreneurs actually got started. So can you tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey? How did you get started at 18? Was there, like a family history of entrepreneurship, or how did you get started?
I was that lemonade stand on the corner of the street kid growing up. So I would say, I always kind of had a knack for it. When you're 7 years old selling lemonade, I don't think you think you're an entrepreneur. I think you're just trying to make 10 cents or whatever I was selling it for. And I was always kind of doing entrepreneurial things. I remember in grade 6, I used to convince my mom to knit me these hats with pom-poms on it. I would put kids' initials in it, and I would sell it in school until the principal forced me to stop. But and then in high school, actually, I had a party bus company, and it got so big to the point where we serviced 80% of all the proms in Toronto, which is close to 1,200 proms a year.
Wow.
And that was simply on the premise of trying to just solve a problem for people. I remember in grade 9 and 10, and you think you're cool because you're friends with the grade 11 and 12s. And it was such a weird process because we would call this number on Google, and we wouldn't really understand what the guy was saying on the other line. And then you give him your parents' credit card, and it was super scary. And then you show up at prom, everyone's all dressed up, and you're crossing your fingers that this bus would show up. And this guy has your money. So that was a huge pain point that I realized in grade 9. And I was like, well, why don't I just take care of that for everybody? No credit card deposit. I can guarantee I'll come with the bus. And I worked with principals actually to solve that problem. And, it trickled on. And so I found kind of a passion for solving issues for people. And then that led into, Revitasize, which was around health and fitness. And I know me and my older brother, being competitive hockey players, we took that very seriously. We use it as tools to kind of unlock potential for us. And again, at the time, 7-8 years ago, there was no vegan options. There was no healthy juices like there is now everywhere. So there was a void, and we filled it. And I guess I kind of always had that little knack for trying to, help solve problems.
That's super cool. I love that. So tell me a little bit about the start of Hush Blankets. What was the grand vision? How did you come up with the idea? And what did success look like for you with building that company? Like, what was your goal when you first started?
Yeah, so I mean, the backstory is, so my partner in the business, Leo, and I, we became friends, I would say in 2016 or 2015. We have a very similar backstory. We both dropped out of university early to pursue business. Myself with Revitasize, and with him with Scopely, which is a software company. And we just kind of became friends, because when you drop out of university, you kind of lose friends. All your friends are partying and having fun, and I'm waking up at 5:45 to open up the store, right? So like we have very different lives. So we resonated. We had a lot in common. So we just became friends. And then in 2017, he approached me about an idea. He was volunteering at a camp in New York that serviced children with a diverse. They were on the spectrum for all kinds of different needs, but they had this stimulation room, and in the stimulation room they had this he described it as a lap pad, which was like a weighted lap pad that he would use. He would like sneak in there on his breaks, and he would go to sleep all the time with it. And he really wanted to pursue it with me, but we didn't really understand the market. We never sold sleep products before. And then we did some research, and we found in the US there's a company that sold a tremendous amount on a Kickstarter. So we're like, we don't even need to make these things. We'll just buy them for ourselves, because that's what we want. I wanted what he was describing, what he felt I wanted for myself. I wanted a good sleep. So we ended up buying the product, and we realized the product was very, very poorly made. It was kind of like a bean bag. It didn't really work. It was quite frustrating actually for us. So we were like, well, people obviously want it, but there's not something available that'll actually work and last and can replace your duvet. This, I'm not that tall. I'm about 6 feet, but this particular blanket wouldn't cover my toes. So, we wanted to come up with a solution that would actually work for us. And then if we knew if it worked for us, because we're not that special, it'll work for a bunch of other people. And that's when we decided to come together and say, hey, you know what, we have other businesses. We're working, in my case, I was opening up the store at 6:45. We're working 6 to 2, in his case, 9 to 5. But we can meet up at night and do that 7 till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. shift and build this thing out. And that's when, 2018, that's when Hush started. And we were fortunate enough to make our first sale, I think, on our second or third day. And we never would have imagined that it would snowball into what it is today.
That's incredible. I feel like, like honestly, some of the best companies, and especially e-commerce companies or product companies, are really the ones where you're solving some kind of challenge that you're having yourself, where you're making the product for yourself, and you're kind of like close to the pulse of what your consumer wants, because you are your own consumer, and you can iterate pretty quickly from that. So it's really cool that you were able to just like have that much success in the 2 years or the 3 years that it's been around, and really build it to this incredible company, have that amazing Kickstarter campaign, be on Dragon's Den, all of that fun stuff. But this is Fuck Up Nights. So
not the good stuff. We're not here for the good stuff.
We're going to mix it in a little bit, but people are here to hear about your fuck ups. So tell me a little bit about the fuck up that you encountered. Like, so you were having like all the success, the company was growing so quickly. When did things kind of start to go south, and when did you realize that that there was a fuck up that was happening?
Yeah, so that's when did we realize? We realized too late, right? But in the year of 2019 was essentially our real first year. 2018 was kind of a discovery year. We only had 3 products, but 2019 is when the year we launched a Kickstarter. It was the year that we went on Dragon's Den, and was like our first real experience of a Q4 of a Christmas rush. So we thought we had it figured out. Our Kickstarter was extremely well planned. We spent 6 months developing the product and doing the marketing for it. It was a very successful campaign, but we've never shipped anything worldwide. We've never even brought in this much product into Canada before. So we thought, okay, you know what? Let's hand it over to some people who know what they're doing, and we hired a third-party logistics company to come in and kind of handle our fulfillment for our Kickstarter. And then we sat back and we said, it's done. We're good to go. And the Kickstarter was successful. I think we had 10,000 orders from all over the globe. We put in our PO with our manufacturer. Our manufacturer delivered the goods. And we handed it over to our 3PL. And what we didn't realize was that with all these different SKUs, you need to have it properly labeled, because we're not just selling 3 SKUs anymore. This Kickstarter was a completely different variant. We sold different sizes, and we sold just the sheets and the covers and combinations. And we basically handed an Excel sheet to our 3PL and said, fulfill this. And they came back to us 2 weeks later, and they're like, fulfilled. And we're like, amazing. With 10,000 orders shipped out the door. And then mayhem unfolded, and we got thousands and thousands and thousands of messages of people who ordered a 20-pound and got a 10-pound, who ordered a 10-pound and got a 20-pound, who got the wrong colors and the wrong sizes, all over the globe. We didn't realize we needed a VAT number when you ship to Europe. We've never shipped to Europe before, so we had like 400 or 500 blankets. Required duties payments, and because of the way the duties is set up, I don't know if anyone's ever ordered from Europe before, but sometimes the duties is more expensive than the product, and that was the case for about 500 people internationally. So it was absolutely mayhem. If you are so inclined to see how bad it was, you can Google Hush Kickstarter, and I'm almost positive the Hush Blanket Kickstarter scam page is still live on Facebook. There was a whole community. I was a part of the community, actually. There was like a 500 person community just every day checking up on each other. They were checking in. They were posting. At one point, they just like wishing happy birthday to one another. It was insane. And so we when that happened, it took us all the way. March was our Kickstarter. It took us all the way until July, August to fix all those errors, and it costed us a tremendous amount of money, but we found a way to make it up to everyone. We got everyone what they needed, even though they weren't happy because it took so long. Like typical Kickstarter fashion, you never get your product. And then we put up on this whiteboard behind us, we said, we had a team meeting. We're like, I'm wearing a hat, started losing my hair, and I was like, we're never doing this again. We're done. We're not gonna use the 3PL. So we're like, this can't be that hard. So we got our own warehouse. I'm in the warehouse right now. Actually, we got our own warehouse in Toronto. We do our own fulfillment. Like any entrepreneur in the beginning, we just blame the other guys, but it wasn't our fault until we started doing the fulfillment. Realized that with proper barcoding, we could have solved all this with just proper barcoding. And we're never gonna be late, and we're never gonna overpromise and underdeliver to our customers again. We learned. And then Q4 started, which is October of 2019. And we place our Q4 order with our manufacturer at the end of September, at the beginning of October. However, there's this thing called Golden Week, which is some sort of holiday in China. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it essentially means if you don't ship your containers before this week, they will not arrive in time for Christmas. Because I call it, and some other people call it too, but because then October and November is Devil's Month, and you're just never getting anything across the border. You're not even getting a spot on a boat. So if you don't ship in early September, you're basically doomed. We shipped in October because we don't even know what Golden Week is. So we're shipping in October. We have Dragon's Den episode airing October 17th. So we're going to order a little bit more because we're expecting a spike of traffic and hopefully some conversions. So we have our boats on the water, and we're super excited. We're like, our team is fired up. We have a huge party for Dragon's Den. It was awesome. Our site crashed the night that it aired, and we made a whole bunch of orders, and we're sitting back, and it's a lot of hard work. We're excited. It's Q4, and we're selling well. We're selling lots of blankets, but we don't have an inventory management software in place whatsoever. So we have no idea if we're overselling and underselling, and all we know is that we're selling. And so we're selling, and in our minds we have X amount of blankets on the water, and we're doing these mental math calculations. And then we oversold a tremendous amount of blankets, and I think the number was close to about 5,000 blankets. Now, if you know anything about Hush blankets, you know that our blankets are premium. We take a lot of pride in our quality, and with that, we charge a premium price point, right? You know, we try to be economical, but we're on the higher end of Christmas gifts. You know, in most cases, it's a Hush blanket or a PS3 at the time, or a PS4. It's a big gift, and for many families, it's the anchor gift. And we were on the verge of not delivering 5,000 anchor gifts to homes all across Canada and the US, but we were optimistic. So we were very fortunate. We had a bunch of containers arrive at the port for the first time, right? At this scale, for the first time in November. And we're like, guys, we're going to do this, right? Like it's going to work out.
It's happening. Yeah.
we're excited. We're like 2 weeks on the rail, 1 week at the warehouse. It's at the door. It's at your house for Christmas. So we followed up with all these people. We said, listen, you're going to get it. Guaranteed Christmas, sign the deal. We're in. So we were happy again. However, when you ship 15 containers of goods for the first time as a relatively new company, and you describe your goods as goods that include packets of white sand, it gets flagged because who is shipping, 400,000 pounds worth of white sand in containers in these blankets with perfectly measured pockets? And I'm like, well, it's a weighted blanket.
Not sketchy at all, yeah.
So that obviously wasn't the case. The border security actually said to us that they wanted to not only inspect some of our blankets, they wanted to inspect 10% of our blankets, which essentially mean they needed to open 10% of every single container. And they don't work for us, so they're not going to dedicate hundreds of people to do this in a day or two. It's most likely 1 or 2 guys and a dog who are going to do this. And that took 5 weeks, which means it didn't even get approved to come to us until January. And we had 5,000 people that we did not deliver for Christmas, unfortunately. And then when it arrived, if you can imagine, they ripped open 10% of our inventory. Yes, they paid us back for it, but that's 10% of people, again, can't get their goods because we still need to remake them. So that ended up being 6,800 people outside of Christmas gifts, who, I'm laughing because it was awful, but
you can only laugh at this point.
So I personally called 5,500 and something people. I had a little tickle. I personally called every single one of them over 2 weeks, tried to apologize to them. But there's really nothing we can do. And it resulted in, if you go to our BBB score, I think we're at like a -1. We're probably the lowest rated BBB company in the world. It still actually haunts us till today. We still have it actually got to the point, my dad's got an accent. Got to the point where people would these groups would, they'd meet up at 8 o'clock at night. Like the Hush Blankets is a scam group. And they'd meet up at night, they'd have meetups, and then they would go on our ads together, and then they would spam our ads with this company is a scam, right? And then all of our ads had all these negative comments. And my dad saw them. My dad called me and he's like, Aaron, I didn't raise you to be a scammer. I can't believe you would do this to people. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, my friends are calling me, they say you're a scam. And I'm like, no, it's not what happened. They're going to get delivered. They're just delayed. It was, it was
part of the fuck up when your dad is the
Yeah, it's I'm at the dinner table, and I don't live there, so whenever I only see them maybe once a week, and it's the topic of discussion is my son is a scam, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's a huge failure, and it was so bad. And we have a couple of not those ads, but we have a couple of those ads that that still linger around today. And I still see comments from, like, it says, like, you know, like 72 weeks ago, you'll see, and like it's some horrible comment of how this person didn't get their Christmas gift, and we gave them so much free stuff. But
how much did you end up losing, like approximately, like in refunds and having to remake products and just if you can quantify it.
We probably gave back, I would say, north of like 200 grand in refunds. And then I think the collateral damage of these groups, I mean, I was in these groups. I was invited to these 8 o'clock spam hush ad sessions. And that was, there was a point actually where these groups would go, and anybody who commented anything good, right? Like I got my blank, because not everybody didn't get it, but there was a specific group of people who didn't receive it. And they would message them and say, like, how could you support a company like this? And there was dialogue. And sometimes it was like a friend of mine who would message me. He's like, is this for real? And like, it would be a paragraph, like, we're creating a class action, like all this crazy stuff. And it all came down to 2 simple mistakes, 2 simple fuck ups. And it was, 1, we ordered too late. And B, we didn't set ourselves up with the board with, you know, essentially HS codes, which are how they classify your products. If you predetermine them for your product, then they don't have to guess what's inside. We were shipping such small quantities before that we never really needed one. So with a proper HS code and with ordering on early enough, then we could prevent all of this. And
that's how you learn, though. Do you think, like, did you talk to any other, you know, entrepreneurs that were shipping stuff? Like, do you think that would have been helpful?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think what's so different about us is sometimes, you know, we'll tell people like, hey, we're ordering 50 containers at a time. And for a lot of people, that's like, it's an insane amount of product. Like, I can't even fathom 50 containers. And because usually you can fit like 50 to 100,000 pieces on a container. Our products are large and they're heavy, so we can only fit a few thousand. So it's not that it was really tough to find actually entrepreneurs who can relate with us, specifically in Canada. And in the US, it's a completely different ballgame, right? When it comes to shipping, and their infrastructure is much different. But in Canada, it was very difficult to connect with people moving that much volume. And we tried, and we, you know, maybe we didn't listen. I don't quite remember. But, you know, we learned definitely the hard way. And we were actually, we were catching up on those orders all the way until March of this year, until COVID hit. So it was, and we were launching new products. So then, you know, the person who ordered in November, we launched a new product in between that. And he's like, I don't even want that old product anymore. I want that new product. And
that would be
a logistics nightmare. Yeah. But we're pretty much caught up, I think, to date. I mean, good news and bad. I mean, COVID sold us out and stuff, but I guess we'll get into that. But we still have some back orders for sure. So if you're watching this and you haven't got your blanket yet, I promise we're still here. The guys are still working. We're getting them out.
That's wild. I can't even imagine. So I want to get into some questions around like your mindset and how you actually coped with the fuck up while it was happening, and, you know, if you have any advice for people. So I think a big theme that kind of comes up with Fuck Up Nights talks, even if you go back and watch some of the ones from our live events, is that, you know, when something is fucking up in our business or in our job or whatever it may be, we kind of tend to almost like group ourselves with that fuck up. So it's like if something in your business is failing, it means in our head sometimes that like you as a person are failing. Was that the case for you, or were you able to, you know, kind of like separate the two and, you know, kind of just get through it in that way? Like, what was your mindset like while this was happening?
Yeah, I mean, something I do often is I really separate like me and like Aaron, and I kind of push Aaron to the side, and then there's the business, and we're not the same, right? There's me, and then there's the business. So I have this, I guess, thing that I do where I kind of always take a back seat, and I say, okay, how can we help the business? as if I was, a mentor or helping somebody else. So when things go wrong in the business, and being in a leadership position, I have to take accountability that there are things that I could have prevented, right? There's things that I could have done better. But instead of looking at myself in the mirror and getting down on myself and saying, I wish I knew about Golden Week, I probably could have Googled it, when to get your orders out. And it'll tell you, if you Google when to get your orders, it'll tell you before this date, right? Like,
yeah.
I could have, said, oh, you're an idiot for not doing that. But I don't necessarily operate like that. I kind of view these issues as walls that I need to run through. And we get walls all the time. We've got almost 3,000 back orders right now because we underestimated the success of our ICE 2.0 launch. And, for me, there's problems and then there's champagne problems. And I classify them as, I treat them differently, because a problem is, a warehouse worker pulling a skid off without a helmet on, without the shield over his head, and he can potentially die. That's a real problem for someone like me, right? Problem is we have a spelling mistake on the banner of our website. Like, those are real problems that we need to fix.
Yeah.
Champagne problems are we under-ordered, we oversold, stuff like that. But I deal with them based on, okay, cool, it's happening, it's done. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. It's already finished, right? Now let's sit down and figure out how we're going to move forward, how we're going to fix this, how we're going to prevent it from happening again. Because it's never going to be perfect. It's not like I'm sitting here and thinking I'm never going to have another shipping problem. I'm almost confident we will. In fact, we have 35,000 square feet here, and I'm almost positive that in the next 2 weeks we're going to run out of space, and I don't know what to do. Right? I'm almost positive these things are happening. So it's not about. That's why I remove myself, because if you get emotional with things, if you have sales are down one day, and you get emotional and you get sad, and then sales are up the next day and you're like happy and excited, that's a problem. Like that.
Yeah,
that's more scary to me, right? Then that's actually terrifying to me, as opposed to making a mistake, because once your own internal happiness is attached to the success of your business, or to the life of your business and what's going on in it, it's very dangerous. And from a health standpoint, it's very dangerous. So something I tend to do is always just separate myself and kind of look at it and say, okay, how can we help? How can we change things?
Absolutely. I think that's really key. And also just, like taking responsibility for the fuck up and dealing with it, but also, not blaming yourself too much and not getting too in your head about it. What about working with your co-founder? How do you guys support each other, and how do you sort of tackle fuck ups and opportunities together?
Definitely. I mean, I've in both my businesses, I have one with family, and we're partners in family, and I have one with Lior. And it's so important to have really good partners and co-founders. I'm super, super, super lucky to have them. We're so much the same, but we are so different. And it's almost like a Cheech and Chong thing, where we have a lot of the same goals, and it's really important in business, specifically, in the beginning, everything's easy. You have a partner, maybe two partners, and there's not much on the table. So everyone's just working, and there's whatever. But as you start to grow, things can change. And if you don't have a serious amount of personal respect for the other person and admiration, then things can start to fall apart, and it gets dangerous. And that's normal, and it happens all the time. I'm very, very lucky to have him, because he's amazing at things that I suck at, and I'm good at things that he's not so good at. So we're able to kind of complement each other. We're both marketers by trade, but our execution styles are so different. So, I mean, it works, and we both have very, very common goals in business and outside of business. So our synergies are in line. And sometimes, again, as you get older and as the business matures, a lot of those things get exposed. And that's why, if you ever take on meetings with potential investors or et cetera, a lot of the dialogue is about what's going on, at the co-founder or founder level. And that's because that relationship is just so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so key, and it's like we have a lot of past fuck up stories that we've heard where it was, like issues between co-founders or people finding somebody who's like exactly the same as their skill set. So it sounds like you guys have a really great balance. So that's awesome. So I want to dive into your business currently and what's going on with COVID. I think it's a really interesting time. Obviously, a very fucked up time in a lot of ways, and definitely kind of polarizing for depending on what industry and what type of business you're in. So tell me a little bit about the impact of COVID on your business. What was the initial impact like, and how has it kind of progressed?
Yeah, so COVID was like March, I think 14, 15 officially.
Yeah.
And when the NBA locked down the world, it was, and everybody, I guess allocated their funds to toilet paper and canned foods and, prepared for the Armageddon. Our sales dropped. I think everybody's sales dropped unless you own Loblaws, and the right, like, and we were. I was stressed. I was personally, but my partner actually wasn't. He was very like, dude, relax. It's a day, it's a 2 day, and he had a good point, and I did, and we decided, we're not gonna do something crazy right now. We're not gonna shut down the ads. We're not gonna pull back. We're not gonna fire staff. It's a week. It's we plan on being around here for a lot longer than a week. And sales didn't go to zero. They dropped by, I think, 40%. And we said, you know what, we're gonna wait this out. We're gonna wait at least 2 weeks. And we did. We waited 2 weeks. Sales kind of stabilized at that 40% drop. But we realized that everybody else was panicking and cutting their ad spend. And we knew this because a lot of our ad partners and a lot of my friends were just cutting budgets. They were pulling back. They were firing staff, and they were trying to get really lean. And for us, we saw that as opportunity. We said, okay, there's an opportunity for us to promote our message, and that's our give back message, where we donate 1 in every 10 adult blankets and 1 in every 10 children blankets to charity. There's an opportunity for us to come in now, because every single charity that we were working with at the time, and it was about 800 or 900, and over half of those are in Toronto, were calling us and ringing us up and saying, we're expecting, a huge arrival of, we have a lot of youth shelters we work with. They're expecting a huge arrival of youth to the shelters. And we realized that, if, we're going to help them, because that's a part of what we do. But there's a lot of space out there right now, and there's a lot of attention out there right now that no one's paying to grab, because there's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
So we actually doubled down on our advertising efforts. Everything we bought up. If you're in Toronto and you've seen our billboards, we bought up 25% of the inventory in Toronto for.
You guys are everywhere. You're on like TTC. I was seeing you like on the road. It's really cool.
We bought it for really, really cheap, because everybody who had these deals signed with Pattison and Astral and Outfront were pulling back on their deals, and we were getting offers from pennies on the dollar, and it was a risk for us, because you know what, there was no guarantee that our sales were going to go back up the 60% that we lost, or 40% that we lost. There was no guarantee, but we knew that our mission and our message resonates with people, and that worst case scenario, the worst possible thing we do is we essentially put blankets in people's bed and we make no money. And for us, it was like if we're gonna go down, we might as well go down with 10,000 happy sleepers, and at least some people could be happy. So it was for us, it was a win-win. It was like, worst case, we make no money, but we get blankets in people's bed, and best case is we're able to do both. So we doubled down and we went all in, and I would say the second week of April, we got really busy. It was I don't want to say it was because of those efforts. It could have just been that people were like, need some retail therapy. I don't know what it was, but our attribution says it was our efforts.
Yeah.
But we all know, if any of you are in the advertising space, you know, Azure attribution's a spam anyways. So it was, yeah, we saw
It sounds like a
Christmas in
mix of
April.
things. Yeah, that's amazing. Christmas in April. Wow. I think it's a mix of things. Like, it's definitely your efforts. That's a huge part of it. I think just like the product is so right for the times that we're going through. You know, people are at home, they're trying to improve the space that they're in. People are stressed out and anxious, and you have a product that helps them sleep better. I'm sure you're using your own product, and it's helping you out during these times as well.
I was suffering in Mexico without it. It was like the worst thing ever. It was yeah, first time without one in years, and like I finally understand now. So I get it.
Funny. Awesome. Okay, well, congratulations. I'm really glad that, you know, you're killing it these days. But it's all about your efforts, and it's all about kind of doubling down and finding ways to pivot and ways to find opportunity during these crazy times. So I want to jump into some of the questions that we've been getting from the community and the comments. So let's start off with Oana. What were your initial startup costs, or did the Kickstarter campaign cover everything?
Initial startup costs for the business, I'm assuming. Our initial, so when we first started, you know, Leo and I both had existing businesses, but they weren't, you know, putting a huge chunk of change in our pockets. It would be just as much as, I guess, a regular job anywhere. So essentially we had some savings, and our first order with our manufacturer was, I think, 700 blankets, and it was like 90 grand Canadian. That's a huge amount of money. So we weren't like super confident that we would sell it. We were kind of nervous, but we said, you know what, we can launch on our website and put a little bit of money that we were going to put on our inventory, and we can put it into advertising, and we can buy up some traffic. And let's put up a little bit of money that we're willing to lose, just to test to see if anybody would buy this, because there's no sense in pouring $90,000 down the hole and we have no customers. So we did that, and I think it was January 26th. We bought some traffic, and I think it was through Google at the time. And we made our first sale 2 days later. It was not a profitable sale, but you know, when you're first starting, that first cha-ching on your Shopify, you know, thing is the best feeling ever. And then the next day we sold 3, and I have a video on my phone of Leo and I doing like a chest bump in the middle of the air, like we're rich, we're popping champagne, like we did it. We sold like $700, and because you know, that kind of gave us the motivation though to then say, you know what, we have opportunity here. So we actually did a good amount of pre-orders in the beginning, which solidified our confidence in where we were going. And then we liquidated our savings, you know, both of us again for the second time. We liquidated the first time on the first business, then again on the second business. And that funded, we bootstrapped our first. And then the Kickstarter campaign cover everything? No, it didn't. It was supposed to, but if we didn't fuck up and ruin everybody's order, it would have been a great campaign. I will say one thing though for Kickstarter, because I know a lot of people lean towards it because they don't want to spend the money. To have a successful Kickstarter, and I'm just telling you the way we did it, it's free. I'm not going to charge you like those agencies. Here it is. You need to have some money for advertising. You can't rely on Kickstarter's traffic to give you the boost that you need. Kickstarter is simply like throwing up an Amazon listing. If no one sees it, they're not going to buy. So I hope that answers the question.
That's so true. Yeah, I think a lot of people they expect to put one up, and you know, they think it's just going to be magic, but it's not. There's a ton of effort that goes into it, especially as like more and more people are using it.
90%, 99% of campaigns I think won't raise $1. So
yeah, it's so
that means
true.
they won't even buy it themselves, because I bought my own. Like, I don't get how you don't raise $1, but it's the way it is.
That's kind of sad. That's a fuck up right there. A great question from Hannah. With importing such a heavy product, how do you guys manage freight costs?
It's a good question, and you know, that's actually a very good question.
Yeah.
if you've seen our product, whether it's on Instagram or you have one or your friend has one or whatever, you'll see how much we put into the packaging, into the way it's put together, and how big it is and how thick it is. And there's so much about it that makes it bigger and more and more and more. And it's expensive. It's expensive to ship. It's expensive to ship to the customer. When we were working with a 3PL, and I'm assuming you're talking about a little bit of freight to the customer, as you can assume, 70-pound package. When we were working with a 3PL, they proposed rates that were close to Amazon's rates in terms of shipping, and we thought we hit the jackpot. And it wasn't until we actually approached the carriers directly, Purelator, UPS, Canada Post, FedEx in some cases, where we realized that you can actually negotiate really, really good rates. So, you know, I remember my first ever blanket on January 26th. Leo and I packed up a sample. And if you're that first customer, actually, we took care of them, so you won't be angry, but we shipped them a sample. And we took it to the post office, and it cost me $70 to send it from the Shoppers Drug Mart at Canada Post. And we're shipping blankets for under 20 now. So there is room. You just gotta, you gotta twist and twist and twist, and eventually you get those deals.
Yeah, find something that works. That's a really interesting question. Question from ER. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Did you ever think to get the weighted blankets patented? If you did, how did you go about it? If not, why did you decide not to? And how do you stand above competition?
It's a great question. So you actually can't patent a weighted blanket. The science behind weighted therapy, which is it's a form of sensory therapy, has been around for over 100 years. It's actually published scientific data from like 1906, which is insane. So the using weight to naturally calm the body has been around for a really long time. So it's virtually impossible. I mean, you could patent it, but it's very easy to get contested. So we didn't patent it. We our iced cover, our blend, I don't think it's finished yet, but it's patent pending. And our 2.0, same thing. So if not, why did you decide not to, and how do you stand above competition? I get this competition question all the time. There's 75,000 weighted blanket sellers on Amazon in Canada alone, and there's probably like 100 or 500 on Google and whatever. The answer, I have a lot of metaphors to answer it. One is, I get texts all the time. People send me photos from like Walmart, and they have like some sort of weighted blanket for like $29.99. And then I always reply and send me a picture of your shoes. And they always go, why? I'm like, just send me a picture of your shoes. And they always send me a picture of their shoes, and it's like Nike or Adidas or whatever. And I'm like, now go to the running shoe aisle in Walmart and send me a picture of the running shoes. And they sell running shoes for $24.99 too, but why are you wearing Nikes? Don't they do the same thing? And the differences that you're thinking of is, well, my Nikes are better, they're made better, and all these things that make it better is what makes us better. I mean, we're the way we build our blanket, the way it's manufactured, the 7-layer construction, the way we double stitch it, the way we use micro glass beads and not these like rain stick beads, the way the weight distribution is, the way that you can unzip it and throw it in the wash. There's so much about it that I could go on for days about what makes it so different. The way that you can have summer and winter covers, there's just so much to it that I almost get offended when people actually ask me what makes you guys different. And it's like, it costs us 4 times what Walmart sells their blanket for. And if you know Walmart, they have to make 100%, and the third-party middleman who sold to them needs to make 100%. That means they're costing like $5-6 to make it. My box is $4. So, you know what I mean? Like it's really about branding. It's really about solidifying yourself, and it's having a tremendous amount of confidence in your product. I wouldn't sell anything to anyone ever that I wouldn't use myself. Leo and I slept with our samples for 4 months. In fact, Leo would not put on his Facebook that he was selling the Hush until he was confident enough that it was so different that none of his marketer friends can go on Alibaba or AliExpress and order one for themselves. And that's what makes us so different.
That's amazing. Very cool. Question from Leonardo. In the early phases of your business, do you think a service like Amazon fulfillment could have alleviated the damage caused by the logistics issue?
Leonardo, that's a great question. And the answer is yes and no. Yes, because we used Amazon in the beginning in 2018. They were our fulfillment house. We did FBM. We would send them the orders. They would fill it out. The problem with Amazon is they don't give a shit about you. You're just a number on the screen, and they would lose product. They would damage product. And what happened was people would order on our website. And what Amazon did is because they use the reason why they give you such amazing rates, and they do, guys. If you're actually have a product and you're starting, it's not a bad idea to use them. Their shipping rates are arguably probably still better than what we're getting now at our volume and our deals. But the reason why they do that is because they take your beautiful package that you spent so much time designing, and then they rip it open and they throw it into an Amazon box and they ship it to your customer. Mm-hmm. And so we had customers that would call us and be like, "I didn't order this blanket from Amazon." And I'm like, oh my goodness, where people are getting Amazon boxes and they're ordering from our website, and it's confusing them. And then they go on Amazon and they see all those, drop shippers selling blankets for $20, and they feel like they got ripped off because they would have just bought a cheap one on Amazon. So Amazon is an option. We use them, but you work on their schedule. They're disproportionately more expensive, and they will lose product, and you essentially have to sue them through their policy page in order to get your money back. So I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're just starting out, it's definitely an option.
Yeah, I got to weigh the pros and cons, I guess, of that.
Yeah.
Question from Smaranda. What are some tools you would tell people to develop, to develop for staying driven when things fuck up and it's not your fault when the world fails you? For example, when your shipment got flagged.
Yeah. That's a good question. What are some tools? What I do might not work for everybody. I'm a little bit of a lunatic. I'm crazy. I amp myself up in the mornings. I'm that guy. I'm that journal guy. I'm that guy who's yelling at himself in the mirror. Like, you can do that. You're like, I'm fired up. I'm fired up right now. It's 8 o'clock. Like, I'm ready to go anytime, anywhere. I have, whether it's confidence, fake confidence, whatever it is, I truly believe I can do anything. Even if I can't, at least I believe it, and I'll try. I'll do my best. If you have, I think a big thing is actually your circle. I think that's the tool. The tool is who you're hanging out with, who you're spending time with. I've got a really good circle. I mean, it's small, it's not big. I don't have a lot of friends. I dropped out of university. I didn't have that whole crew. My best friends are my best friend and my business partner. I don't really have, I have a couple good buddies, and I've snipped people throughout the years because, you need people who bring you up, and I get down and I get depressed. I came back from Mexico not too long ago, and it's freezing out here in Toronto. I'm depressed. It sucks, but it's important to, the world doesn't really fail you. And I think, you're going to get punched. You're going to get punched all the time. I get punched. I got punched today. We spent 8 hours, our warehouse team, labeling a massive order for Sport Check. And, we sent the order to Sport Check to confirm it's finished. And they're like, yeah, actually the label needs to be 2 inches to the left. And, there goes a whole day. And, God knows how much money that was. And we're going to rip the boxes, and yeah, it's done. Let's move on. Let's schedule the guys for tomorrow. It's all about how you take it. And your shipment getting flagged is bad, but I got a lot worse than that. I mean, we've had lost shipments and double shipments, and it's about, okay, I got it, happened. How can we move forward? How can we fix this moving forward? The world is never over. It was here before us, and for all of us in 150 years, it'll be here after us. It's all about how you move forward and what's your next step.
That's so true. All about having that perspective.
Yeah.
Great question from Daniel. What inventory management system are you working with now? Are you still using a 3PL?
A lot of people push me on this, so this is my opinion, but and hate's a strong word, but I hate 3PLs. So if they have a big enough margin to run their business, then that margin is built in on your shipping costs one way or another. I know the sales pitches, they have volume, they get better deals, they get this, they get that. I don't really give a shit. The margin is there for them to make money. And if you are in this business, and I'm assuming if you're in the e-commerce business or whatever business, and you're in it and you have competition, and your competition is probably grinding their ass off, the best way to beat them is to have a bigger margin. And the best way to do that is to ship yourself. So whether it's putting blankets I'm just using blankets, putting blankets in your room, in your closet, I don't give a shit what it is. Do whatever it can to give yourself that edge. And I'll get into the software. I won't get into software too much, it's confusing, but I'll tell you the names in a second. But when we first started, and I really hope our competition is listening. Our competition lived in our building. So I lived on the 22nd floor. Lior lived on the 19th floor, and they lived somewhere in our building. And I knew what their rent was. I knew the condo that they lived in, and I knew what the average rent was. I knew what they were paying for rent. And then I did math on what their average. This is a lot of, I don't know how many people are listening to this, but I'm not insane. But this is what other people are doing, and I was like, okay, they need X amount of money to live their lives. And I looked at Leo and I'm like, how thin can we go, right? How close to zero can we go? Because if I can drain the competition and run on as little profit as possible, I can absorb more of the market share, right? Because you might have the best product, and we had a better product, but it doesn't matter because we're not in a showroom and we're not putting A and B beside each other and people get to feel both. They're just going to buy one and they're going to move on. And if they have a bad experience, and unfortunately for us, people buy these blankets from Costco for $50 and then they put their hands up and say, weighted blankets don't work for me. And that happens, unfortunately, because now it's really tough to convince, hey, ours is better. They're like, yeah, I don't like them. It's like, I don't like dress shoes, but it's like, that was a shitty pair, So, and that's what we did. And we starved them out. And the way we're doing it even today is we run our own fulfillment process. And we're able to ship blankets for $3 to $4 less. And even if you're doing 1,000 shipments a month, that's $3-4 grand every single month. That's $36,000 a year that you're putting in your pocket, in your marketing, in your staff, anything you want. And if you're doing 10,000 shipments a month, I mean, you can do the math. That's your Ferrari right there, if that's your dreams, right? So there's little things like that you need to take into consideration. And for softwares, for warehousing, we use Ship Hero, and for inventory, we use Inventory Planner, which is great, but it's scary.
That's cool. I'm sure people who are interested can look it up and kind of dive into the specifics of it on their own. Great question from Lena. As an e-commerce business, what would be the top 3 things you did to gain traffic and convert your visitors?
Oh, I can go and we can do this for days, but I'll keep it quick. What are the top 3 things you did to gain traffic? So our specific product had a tremendous amount of search. So in Canada alone, there was about 300,000 searches for weighted blanket every month when we started. It's a little bit bigger than that now. And we knew that if we can own search, we can earn business, right? If we have we can work on our website, blah, 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 blah. But the hardest thing for anyone is to gain traffic. And then we can start getting into the quality of traffic. But search traffic is the best quality. Someone literally says, I want a weighted blanket, and then you're the weighted blanket. And then as long as you don't screw it up with price, product, or promotion, you're going to convert. So we bought that traffic right away. And then my partner, Lior, looked at me and he's like, we need to go deep into SEO, because we can bid all day on spot 1 and 2. But everybody likes to scroll down just a little bit to see who earns that spot, right? It's just who we are. It's just like, we always want to okay, we get it. These guys are paying, but let's see what Google suggests. And a huge way that we grew our business, and we check SEO every single day. And today we checked, and we're still number 1 in Canada for weighted blanket. We spent a ton of money. We spent all of our profit in the first year investing into that. And if there's any SEO guys here, if you know anything about SEO, you know that SEO is a long-term investment, and it's very painful because you're just sinking money in hopes that things get better. So that's one definite thing: Google Ads, SEO, and the third thing would be to gain traffic is to have really good content. Really, really, really invest into your content. Get yourself out of your comfort zone. Content's king. Content is king, and I think it's going to be king for a long, long, long time. I have friends that just literally live on earned media, and there's nothing better than a zero CPA sale. So I would definitely invest in your content.
Yeah, so key. All right, so we have an interesting name here, but it's Fuck Up Nights, so we'll pull this up.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Nice.
Which advertising platform is now the best bang for your buck?
That's a loaded question because it depends what you're selling, but it really depends what you're selling. Yeah. I think Facebook and Instagram are the CPMs are going up. Big box, big money's coming in. The big guys, the big players in advertising for years are figuring it out. They're hiring the right guys. They're bringing on the right agencies. The money is now shifting to where it was going to go anyways. So I still think there is lots of wins on Facebook and Instagram. And I would start there and Google, depending on what your product is, of course. And then if that doesn't work, then you need to get really creative. We're just starting with TikTok, but I know of a lot of friends who are doing disproportionately insane numbers on TikTok because their product fits. It's in that, you try to sell $1,000 product on TikTok, probably not going to have the best return. You try to sell $29.99 product on TikTok, might have a really good return. So it really depends on what your product is, but the best bang for your buck with the proper advertising and the proper content is definitely going to be Facebook and Instagram, but not for long. And it's more expensive now than it was a week ago. And if you're just launching, I wouldn't recommend to launch in Q4. Things are expensive right now, and it's only going to get more expensive. So I hope that answers your question. It's a tough question, but it really depends on what you're selling. But I always check Google search and see, what the vibes are. And I think influencers are really, really, really cheap right now. Still,
that's true.
They're very, 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 very cheap. And for us, we see our, in terms of best bang, biggest return for the amount of money we spend, definitely on influencers. But if you're talking scale, then still Facebook and Instagram.
That's great advice. Yeah, it really depends. But thanks for kind of sharing what's working for you. Question from Cool. Is there a future to manufacturing locally?
I wish. I really do wish. There isn't. Weighted blankets, particularly for us, are insane to make. They really are. And I think, that's the way we make it. It's our factory. I've been there. It's like, I couldn't believe that this is what it takes, but it's 5 floors, and each floor handles a different component of the blanket, and then they put it together. It takes hundreds of people, different people. It's an expensive product. It's not like, China's no longer cheap. I think that misconception that China is cheap is not true. It's really not true. We can make it for cheaper in Indonesia. We can make it for cheaper in Vietnam, in Bangladesh. I can make it for half the price in Turkey. So in terms of specifically in textiles, China is definitely not the cheapest place to produce anything, but China is very skilled. And when it comes to products that require a high attention to detail, and yes, a blanket like ours requires it, I know that China is the place to go, which is why you still see big tech giants producing their high-level equipment that requires very, very high attention to detail. They're still producing it in China, and Nike and T-shirt companies and clothing brands are moving to Bangladesh and Vietnam because it's very easy to make a T-shirt. It's very hard to make a product that requires a bunch of different components. So, and the way our minimum wage is going is, no one's going to pay $1,000 for a blanket. So it's just not. It's not from an economics perspective. It's just not. Mattresses, yes, but mattresses cost the same amount as a blanket to make. But you buy a mattress for $1,200. You don't buy a blanket for $1,200. So that's why you see, you know, the Endies and the Caspers and blah, blah, blah. They're all selling these mattresses and made in Canada, but that's because we're paying for it. So, and that's good. I mean, we are fueling our economy, so there's a benefit to both. But I think from a consumer perspective, we're comfortable paying that price for beds, just not for blankets.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hopefully that will shift over the coming years.
I don't think anyone's ever going to pay $1,000 for a blanket, but maybe. I mean, I've seen comforters for that price. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll take a few more questions and we'll start to wrap things up. Question from Pranjal. Did you incorporate Hutch in USA as a Delaware corp or in Canada only?
First of all, what's up, Prajal, man. It's awesome that he's tuning in. Did we incorporate Hutch in USA as a Delaware corp? So, Mr. Patel, we know you're looking at the tax savings. They don't exist. So that's an internet myth. And I mean, you could do it that way, but the reality is, if you truly believe that you're going to build a business, and you know, we can talk about all these different types of businesses, but if you want to build a real business that's going to make a difference in people's lives, including your own life, then you're going to be too big to hide in Delaware. And we did incorporate in both the U.S. and Canada. I mean, that's because we sell in the U.S. And you have to do that. You don't have to, but it's recommended to do so. And so, yeah, we did incorporate in specifically Delaware, but I know of a lot of Amazon sellers and Kickstarters. I know you're interested in a Kickstarter, and Kickstarters will do that because if you're doing that one big transaction, you can pretty much do it and hide anywhere and maybe move there and collect your tax-free money. But no, we did both.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, a lot of people think there's like, you can kind of like cheat on taxes or find ways to save. You're going to be paying it somewhere. So you're so right.
Yeah, you can always you can do it when you're not making real money. But if the goal is to make what I mean by you're not making real money, I mean the business not making real money. But if the goal is for the business to make real money, then you can't really hide, and you shouldn't want to.
Absolutely. Question from Daphne that's very on theme with Fuckup Nights. Did you consider giving up in the process at any point, and what was the lowest point for you?
I'm disproportionately optimistic. So it was funny. I wonder if my partner, I wonder if Lior's listening. If you are, what's up, Lior? But in our first year, we started in January. So we were selling January, February, March, April. And we thought, we did it. We're selling 3 and 5 and 4 and every day. And like, we're so happy. And then the summer hit. And we were selling like 0 blankets, 1 blanket, 0 blanket, 0 blanket again, maybe 1 blanket. And my partner messaged me and he's like, I have no interest in being in a seasonal business. I'm sorry, dude. Like, essentially he was saying he was out. He wasn't interested in being in a seasonal business. Neither was I, but he was more not interested. And then that's when kind of our minds changed to go, well, if we don't have if we can't develop a product that can sell in the summer, which has become our flagship product, the Iced, and now we have Ice 2.0, a cooling weighted blanket. And that was our lowest point. Our lowest point was, we thought we got too high, and then we got hit with the summer, and we had no idea what that would be like, and we started making no sales, and we could have gave up. And I would be lying if I said we didn't think of it, but I'm disproportionately optimistic. I have this weird thing where I can put a number up on the board and it just happens. I know it's insane, but I don't know what it is. We were going through our year so far, our trailing 12 months. And my partner was like, how did we even, like, you said it would happen, but like, there was no game plan. And I'm like, honestly, I don't know, but like anything I throw up on the board and it just happens. And I don't actually know if that's true or not. But what I do know is that being optimistic and being realistic, and being I call it aggressive positivity, and being like we're so positive, we're constantly positive, no matter what. It's okay. Let's push. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be the best thing ever. We're the best. I'm the best. This is the best team. We have the smartest staff. We have the smartest people on board. We have the best warehouse, and that's every single day. We're the absolute best. Show me someone who's better. That's what I tell people. I'm like, just show me someone who's better, right? And then everyone's like, you know, and that might
I
not
love
be
that.
true. It might not be better. We might actually be the worst. I have no idea. But what I do know is that as long as we can keep our heads on that way, that lowest point isn't really that low. And then that keeps us going.
Absolutely. I love that. Realistic, but optimistic. That's kind of what
Yeah.
you need to be.
And what is realistic? You know, like realistic is kind of like, it's like realistic, like being realistic is when someone says be realistic, it's like, and you're talking about the future, like, oh, you know, next year we're going to do $1 billion. It's like, someone's like, oh, well, be realistic. Well, like what? You know, like,
Yeah,
what is
dream big.
realistic? Realistic is what you think and what I think, but no one knows the future. So there's realistic is just doubt, and doubt is limiting beliefs, and we can go down a whole road of that. But I want to get a bunch more questions in, so let's keep going.
Okay, awesome. So there are a few more. We'll take some repeat questions from people. So great question from Fred. What was the thought process behind identifying the right buyer personas for marketing?
Fred, that's a good question. Speed. I think speed is the answer. You need to be, if you spend too much time finding and identifying and drawing up this persona of who your potential customer is. I mean, I'll give you an example. It might not even be a good one because I'm shooting it off the top of my head. But let's say you and I are both selling phone cases. Everybody seems to be selling them, right? And yours were for people who, I don't know, you were drawing up your persona, you were choosing specific colors that resonate with certain people, right? And I was choosing the same colors, but you were trying to draw up that person. I would be running and creating content and pushing every single day, and I'd be missing probably 80% of my shots. But eventually I'm going to hit, and I will most likely hit before you figure out who your buyer persona is, because even once you articulate who this person is, it's not true. It's only true until you go and test it and then be proven right. So we're always testing. You know, we have ABT everywhere. Always be testing. We're testing our site. There's people go on our site and they're like, Aaron, this is an amazing site, and I'm like, I think it's shit. Like, we're constantly changing it. You can go on the site now, go on the site tomorrow. I will guarantee you a different pop-up and a different landing page. We're constantly testing everything. The answer is, I don't even know if we've identified the right buyer persona, and I can assure you that the person who was buying us 2 years ago is a different person now. You know, we started with selling to 45 and 55-year-olds. Our demos are 25 and 35 now. Has a little bit to do with our marketing. It has a lot to do with the fact that millennials are in their working prime right now. You know, that 25 to 35-year-old, this is it. This is when you're gonna have it. So stuff changes. So I would not waste time. I mean, I would have an idea, but I would test, and I would put a little bit of money, a little bit of effort, a little bit of content out there, and really just see who you resonate with, and just keep poking the bear and poking the bear and poking the bear, and eventually you're going to hit. And when you hit, you double down. I'm getting into blackjack terms now, but essentially you just keep pushing. You just keep pushing and pushing, and it's going to change. And that's why we always test. We never sit back and say we have it figured out. We just have today figured out. We just need to keep pushing. We need to keep testing.
That's really great advice and a good way to look at it. I think whatever industry you're in, whatever you're trying to sell, you have to keep iterating, trying new things, and
100%.
not getting discouraged if something doesn't work out. You keep trying the next thing. So I think we'll take two more questions. We have one from Marissa. Given the rising cost of Facebook plus IG, have you thought about TV for top of the funnel awareness and scale?
Marissa, are you from a TV company? I get a lot of these. It's different for every brand. We just started with Out of Home, and if you're in Toronto, you might have seen our billboards. Attribution is so tough. I have no idea if those billboards are working or not. It's so difficult to know. But I think a lot of brands, including us, are going to start to move back into that old school method of marketing attribution, where it's total money spent versus total money earned. And it's going to be really, really difficult to identify which levers were pulled in order to earn what you earned. I think TV is probably at some point going to be something you see from us. I think it's a loss leader for many direct-to-consumer brands. I know it's a loss leader for Casper and Endy and those. I know it's a loss leader for them. But it's something that you do when you start to run out of people to throw in the top of funnel. So it's kind of like you continue to reach, but another big thing is that we can't be naive to suggest that anybody knows who we are. I probably have family members who don't even know what I sell. So it's to believe that you've exhausted Facebook or Instagram, or you've reached some sort of peak is naive, and it's simply not true. I think the only thing that everyone knows in Canada is the CN Tower and maybe Niagara Falls, right? Like most of us don't even know that there's like surfing in Tofino, like I think there's potentially just the CN Tower. I don't even think the Sky Dome. I think just the CN Tower and maybe Niagara Falls is something everybody in Canada knows. And outside of that, nobody knows shit. So I think there's a lot of room to grow, but yes, I definitely think we're going to get more creative and test out some different channels and different verticals as we scale. And hopefully they're profitable and we're able to do that, right?
That's exciting. Very cool. So I think this one is a good one to sum up with. And also I'll ask, like, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and to connect with you after this? But Ilana is asking if you'd be open to mentoring other e-com business owners or hiring. I know that you're hiring for a few roles right now. So yeah, if you just want to share a little bit about that.
I mean, it depends. It depends what the capacity it is. I mean, I know that everything that I've ever learned has been through either my own trial and error and through other people. I mean, I've been very fortunate enough to have some really, really good mentors in my life. I consider myself lucky to have some really good mentors, family members. I mean, my cousin is a huge mentor of mine, and I've met some people along the way on your journey that have become mentors, and I believe in them. So maybe I think definitely maybe I'm easiest to reach, I guess, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is kind of where I started on LinkedIn, like I guess during the pandemic in March. I started posting on LinkedIn, and I actually love it. It's a great platform. I thought it was just for people getting jobs, and I was like, I don't have a job, so. But it's more than that. So it's a content platform, and I post a lot of business oriented content on there, and
I was going to say, if you're looking for advice, I see your posts pretty much every day, and you're posting some really great business advice and mindset advice. So I think people can even just tune in there and just follow along and keep getting business
and if you comment, I usually comment back at some point. The DM stuff is tough. I don't think LinkedIn's figured out the messages part. It's just it's impossible to go through. So they need some sort of filtering, but whether I'm open to it, I mean, it's maybe. I mean, definitely not now, not in Q4, but definitely in January, probably. I mean, I'll do as much as I can. I mean, I'm still learning. In my eyes, we haven't done shit all yet. I mean, we're still fucking up. So we're gonna make more fuck ups. But if my fuck ups can help you prevent you from doing your fuck ups, then it's a win-win. Or at least it was worth it, right?
That's awesome. All right. Well, Aaron, one last question for you, just to sum everything up. How do you define failure? And do you have any last words that you want to share with our community? Any advice that you want to leave us with?
We just define failure. I don't really believe in failure. I mean, I think it's failure is such a negative word. When I dropped out of school, people thought I was a failure, and for me, dropping out of school was was exciting. It was, now it's kind of cool. When I dropped out of school, it was there's the only reason to drop out of school was you're an idiot. If you drop out of school, it's because you weren't smart enough to stay in. That's kind of now people are dropping out of school I'm starting a business, and people are like, yes, I wish I did it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think there's failures. I think everything that happens, I mean, the cliche term, everything happens for a reason, but I truly believe that. I think that, the things that happen are supposed to happen. And if they're bad, or if you fail, then it's a sign. I mean, I had a lot of ideas that I started and didn't really work out and whatever. And I've thought I was a stock trader when I was 17 and emptied my TFSA into a stock that's worth I think 3 cents now. So like, yeah, like there's failures, but I now know I'm not a stock trader. So next time I'm gonna probably get some advice. So like everything is a part of the process. Everything is a step. There's that picture of like bricks, right? And each brick says fail, fail, fail on it. And then one guy has like, keeps stacking them on his head. He keeps getting shorter, and the other one starts building steps. And I think if you treat your failures as a stepping stone to get to that next level, and it's all about the journey, like you look back, sometimes you look back and you're like, shit, I wish I could relive that. I wish I could relive our Dragon's Den party. I wish I could go back and, we're always chasing the next thing. We're always trying to get bigger, and we're trying to grow, and we're trying to be, we're trying to just be better. And the big question is why, like, why do you want to double your business? Who are you what are you trying to achieve? Who are you trying to prove wrong? Like, there's so much to it. And I do a ton of self-reflection. I do a ton of the work, as if you know the psychology called the psychologist called the work. And I do a lot of work. I do a ton of work, and I'm constantly, tweaking and adjusting and changing. But for me, like, failure doesn't exist. I mean, people should take the approach that failure is not an option. I mean,
depends.
Not that it's not an
option.
I mean, not that it's not an option. I just don't believe it exists. I don't believe in failure. I think that like, what is failure? Like, what is the definition? You try to get A and you get B. Like, I don't understand. Maybe B was the best thing that'll ever happen to you. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not really sure. It's just like you make a huge investment and it fails and you lose all your money. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's literally going to be the best thing. I think that's the thing that changed your life. I had a friend who did exactly that. Actually, made a huge investment after working 10 years for a job, dumped all his money, and over the years he ended up, with zero, and now he ended up with a much, I guess, lower level job, you can call it, or whatever. But he's the happiest I've ever seen. He's moved up north. He's got 2 kids. He's so chill. He's not stressed. He lives this blissful life. He's literally telling me he's never been happier. And it's funny because I'm like, dude, remember like 3 years ago, you were like, this was the worst thing that ever could have happened to me. And so I don't actually believe in failure. I just think that things unfold the way they're supposed to, and that your mindset and what you think about, you bring about. Like, your mindset and your actions every day will dictate exactly what's going to happen. So, I mean, even failure is not a surprise. If you look back at his actions in that situation, that any person could have told you what was going to happen. And I think for a lot of people, someone will look at what you're doing every day for a week, and they can tell you exactly where you're going. And to have that humility and reflection with yourself, then you can say, okay, this is exactly where I'm going. Hold up, is this where I want to go? And if it is where you want to go, then keep going. But some people just put their head down, they work, and they lift their head up, and they're like, shit, like, where am I? This is awful. Right. So it's always important to understand that failure is just a part of the process. And win or loss, you were asking for it, right? That's where you were going.
It's so true. It's all part of the journey. And I think, something we really preach at Fuckup Nights is that it's only a failure if you didn't learn something from it, or if you let it stop you. Like, sometimes maybe it is the right time to stop on the business that you're working on or the job that you're at or whatever, but you can't let it, like, stop you as a person or as an entrepreneur. You have
COVID,
to learn and move on to the next thing.
Syndrome is what I call it. So many people were shutting down their business when COVID hit. And their business wasn't even really that affected by COVID, but it was that like get out of jail free card for a lot of people to shut down that business that they just hated, and it was not really fulfilling them, and they weren't enjoying it. But now, and they didn't want to close it down because everyone would say, you're a failure, your business sucked, blah 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 blah. They would let all these comments get them, and then now COVID kind of came and said, here's your get out of jail free card. Just say it was because of COVID. And move on. And a lot of people are happier now. They closed the doors on those businesses that they didn't like anyways, and they found themselves, and God willing, they're healthy, and now they're in a position to pivot and go to somewhere where they'll be happy.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much again for sharing your story. I think you inspired a lot of people, had some really great advice, and that was definitely an epic fuck up. So thanks for being so open and sharing that with us. I think we got through most of the questions. If there's any that we didn't get to, we'll try to get to them directly in the Facebook comments. But again, we'll say bye to Aaron now. Thank you again so much. Really appreciate you doing this. And I just have a couple more quick announcements and things before we wrap up.
My pleasure.
So, awesome. Cheers. Have a good night. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate everybody who was here tonight and who watched with us live. I want to share a couple of perks that we have for our community. So one is actually from Hush Blankets. So if you visit their website and we'll post the link in the comments there, they're offering $35 off for our community. That deal is going to stick around. I believe they have a Halloween special right now as well. That might be a little bit better or the same. So take advantage of that. But if you guys want to think about it a little bit more and you want to grab a blanket, later on, our deal is going to stick around. So again, thank you so much to Aaron and to the team for offering that to our community. Really appreciate that. Another awesome perk that we have for the community is from Project Spaces. So if any of you right now are living in downtown Toronto, maybe we're working in a cool startup office before, or or just transitioning to working from home these past several months, and maybe you're getting tired of sitting there working in your bedroom or on your couch. Project Spaces has two really awesome co-working locations. One is at King and Bathurst, the other one is around Queen and Spadina. They've taken a lot of precautions to make their spaces safe and welcoming. And they're offering a deal to our community at this link here that I have up there. So $0 setup fees and the first month free for co-working. So definitely recommend it. Check it out. It's really going to help you with your mindset and just establishing a little bit more of a routine if you're not super productive at home, if you have roommates or whatever it may be. Just another place where you can go. Also want to mention our Fuckup wall. So you can see I set up a little one behind me, mini Fuckup wall. If you've been to our live events, that's something that's really famous at our events, where you can write down your fuck up anonymously and share it with the community. We've taken that virtual as well. So that's on Instagram at FuckUpWall. Check it out. You can just kind of creep some fuck ups that others have posted, but we really encourage you to share your own. You can DM it to us, or there's a link where you can share it anonymously. Would love to see them and would love to see some of your fuck ups reflected there. Lastly, I just want to announce what I mentioned at the beginning is that we're going to be doing a little bit of an icebreaker networking session. So we're going to post the link in the comments. Hop on over to that link. It's a cool new platform that's meant to really build community virtually and bring people together. I know what some of you are thinking, virtual networking can be kind of lame, but it depends on the people who are there. And we have the coolest community in Toronto. These people are awesome, all either entrepreneurs or have like entrepreneurial mindset, and it's just a good place to connect and really reflect on what we learned tonight and see how we can help each other and what else people are up to. So once you hop in there, we're going to launch a game, and you're going to have some icebreakers that are going to come up, just like some fun questions to get the conversation going. You can totally veer off from them and chat about anything else, and really hope to see you in there. Would love to hear some of your feedback in there. I'll pop in there. Maybe Aaron will pop in there if he has some free time. But really, it's a chance for you to connect with the community that was here tonight and listening to this fuck up. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, and hope to see you in Icebreaker, and hope to see you at our next event as well.